All right, what's going on, everybody? My name is Dacota Haynes, back here with Mariners Chatter once again. Now, this is the second episode of Mariners Chatter, and today we have a very special guest. Joining me on today's episode is none other than the founder and creator of Northwest Sports Desk, Derek Harper. Derek, how are you, man?
Good, you?
I'm doing good. Just ready to talk some Mariners, bro. We had the first episode of Mariners Chatter last week, excuse me. It was a good episode. Talked about Julio Rodriguez, talked about the return of Kyle Lewis a little bit, just how much of a spark he provided to the team. But ready to dive into the improvements of Cal Raleigh that we've seen over the past, since he's been called up. Talk about the back-to-back series dubs and talk about the Mariners minors.
Yeah, the minors seem to be doing especially well. The Everett seems to be a little bit unstable. The winning streaks, and then they go on these skids. So we'll see if they can get on stable footing here soon. But the future is definitely bright. And with Jerry at the helm, things should get pretty interesting here soon.
Yeah, so going through the farm system, you obviously have the Tacoma Rainiers, who over the years have been tremendous. But this year, struggling a little bit. Only 19-32 right now. But let's talk about Jared Kellnick and what he's been doing in the minors this year. I mean, he's hitting .303 right now with quite a few home runs. I mean, he's just been tearing it up in AAA since being sent back down. You know, he has 5 home runs, a triple, 4 doubles, a 303 batting average, 343 on base percentage, and a 621 slugging percentage.
Yeah, sometimes it just takes being sent back down to regain your energy for a young guy like him. He had power there at the end of last year and just had a little bit of a skid to start the season, but sent him down, got some games in, and seems to be doing better. We'll see when he gets back up here.
Well, the thing with him is I think it was more of a confidence thing. You know, he kind of got called up a little too soon because of the Kevin Mather comments last year. But then, you know, you look at the Arkansas Travelers, Mariners AA affiliate. They're 25-24. So they're not doing too bad. Again, you know, you have quite a few names on that team with Taylor Dollard, Levi Stout, George Kirby was down there not that long ago. You have Joe Rizzo on the Arkansas Travelers, Caden Polkovich, Zach DeLoach, Cade Marlowe. So quite a few top prospects on the Travelers as well. But then the team that I wanted to talk about, okay, is the Modesto Nuts. We're going to talk about the Nuts for a second. So on the Modesto Nuts, you have my favorite prospect. And here's the thing is I normally don't like to pick prospects to be my favorite. But this kid, since he came to the Mariners, has been my favorite. And that's Jonathan Clase. He is one of those guys that puts in the work. You know, he's not a top prospect yet. He's the Mariners' number 19 prospect, but he puts the work in. And Keaton Gilligy, make sure I pronounced that right.
Their play-by-play guy who...
Yeah, the play-by-play guy of
stuff and really good, friendly guy.
Excuse me, it's Gilligy. Keaton Gilligy, the voice of the Modesto Nuts. Last night, him and I were having a conversation on Twitter, and he said that Jonathan has battled injuries and corona and hasn't played a full season since 2019. But the thing about Jonathan is even with that, he's continuing to produce on the field. You take a look at his stats, and in 37 games this year with the Modesto Nuts, he has 39 hits, has scored 32 runs. So he's averaging a hit per game, almost averaging a run per game, has 6 doubles, 3 triples, 5 home runs with a 2-run home run game last night, 21 RBIs, has 19 out of 22 stolen bases, has walked 17 times, is hitting .247 with a .332 on base percentage and a .418 slugging percentage. Now, he is in Modesto, so the batting average, could be a little bit better because it's single A. But with with how many injuries and how much he's, been through, that batting average is pretty good.
Yeah.
And he's putting in the work to show the team that he wants to be there. And eventually one day he's gonna get to the MLB, and his MLB ETA isn't until 2024, 2025. But honestly, I could see him part of this Mariners outfield for quite some time.
Yeah, once he gets up there, I mean, you would have to think he'll at least hit Everett, I don't know, end of this season, early next season.
Oh, for sure.
He could really add a boost to that team with the way he's slugging down and in with the nuts. A struggling Everett team who is 8-16 at home, 12-11 on the road. They've lost 2 in a row. You have to wonder if there might be some moves coming sooner rather than later as they sit second to last in the High A Northwest League.
Well, and see, the interesting thing about the Modesto Nuts, excuse me, not the Modesto Nuts, the Everett Aqua Sox, as I get my footing here. The interesting thing about them is that they have Noelvi Marte, who is the Mariners' #1 prospect on their team. And Noelvi is himself early on was doing tremendous. I'm not quite sure what he's doing right now. I'm taking a look at the stats really quickly. But we also know that Abraham Toro was just down there on a minor league rehab stint. So in 44 games, Noelvi has 43 hits, 10 doubles, no triples, 4 home runs, has only 17 RBIs, 22 walks, has 5 stolen bases, and is hitting .242 with a .337 on-base percentage and a .365 slugging percentage. So he's been struggling a little bit here as of late. But this team, if you look at their roster, they shouldn't struggle as much as they have. And I think it's just the fact that Everett's league is just so stacked now.
Yeah, and they're losing 2-0 right now to the Emeralds in the first of a doubleheader.
I mean, it's interesting just to see.
And then you've had teams like Hillsborough they've gone on a tear, winning 4 in a row after kind of having a slump, and they're sitting second to last or last in the league, and now they're tied for first. I mean, it's just like you said, it's stacked, and Everett is a unique situation, but you would have to think with the way they're playing stuff and we've seen with plenty of our press releases that we've had, Modesto is shuffling players left and right between the rookie fields and to Everett and stuff, and even up to AAA. So you have to think something is going to change here soon.
Oh, no doubt. I think something definitely will change. But the thing about the Mariners, I mean, the minor leagues, you take a look at what Jerry Dacota has done in the years that he's been here. He took a farm system that was pretty much depleted at one point. You had no top 100 prospects. You had pretty much no big name prospects. And you turned that into, just last year, 6 top 100 prospects. And last year had the #1 farm system, or coming into this season, rather, you had the #1 farm system in all of baseball. So, I mean, Jerry Dacota, the team might be struggling up at the MLB level right now, but the thing is they've experienced quite a few injuries. They've experienced some unfortunate things with Jesse Winker. Jesse Winker hitting the ball hard, but it just not falling for him. He was early on, he was hitting under 100 or under 200, but now his batting average is finally starting to rise. Eugenio Suarez, he's actually looking pretty decent for that trade. In that trade, he's looking like the old Eugenio Suarez that the Mariners were actually hoping that they'd get, the one that could hit 220, 230, give you 30, 40 home runs. But the thing about it is Mitch Haniger, he's hurt.
And really, when Haniger goes down, the team goes down with him. Mm-hmm. I mean, we've seen it 2 straight years, and when Haniger comes back, they have this weird magical run.
Well, see, you look at last year when Haniger was healthy the entire year. The team was great.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was the entire year, but I mean, the majority of the season.
Oh yeah,
came back a little bit after the season started, and then boom.
Yeah, I think he had one small injury at the beginning of the year, but then he was great the rest of the year, and the Mariners ended up winning 90 games.
He's that guy they need, that glue guy, and people say, they may trade him next year with certain players maybe coming up from AAA or prospects do you want to risk letting Haniger walk or trading him with how he can really be that glue guy when he's healthy?
Those glue type of guys are so replaceable, but at the same time,
He's good. He's not just glue guy. He's good.
yeah, he's good. Don't get me wrong. But with how much talent you have in the outfield, you're talking, you have J-Rod in center field right now. You have Taylor Trammell, who just came up and was hitting 260, 280s, and doing really well. You have Jared Kellnick, who, if he can bring that confidence that he has in AAA back up to the majors. You have, in the future, you have Jonathan Clase. You have Jesse Winker now, who is also a glue guy.
Yeah, I mean, those trades are starting to pay off. Hanio, Suarez, Winker. And when Kellnick can get hot, like last year we saw him, when he's in his zone, watch out. And I mean, it's going to be fun to see if they can have another late season rally. But if they want to have that, they've got to get some hot streaks going here soon. Because, yeah, there's an extended playoff or expanded playoff. But it's only, one or two more teams? So they still have the chance they could fall out. And with the way they've been playing on this shaky skid, they can't afford too many more breaks like that.
Well, and following today's game, the Mariners lost 3-2 to the Texas Rangers here on June 4th. And, you're talking Taylor Trammell, actually, I'm looking it up right now, is hitting 333.
That's good, though.
Yeah, that's good. You have Ty France is also another glue guy for the team. He pretty much came out of nowhere last year.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I think it was like those people say a trade can re-energize a player. Comes over from, I think it was the Padres organization, former Tri-City Dust Devil, for those of you on that side of the state, and then just comes out of nowhere this season. And he was leading the league. I was at his Cardinals game this season. They had all the stats on the outfield board. It was like J.P. Crawford and France, and then France again. I'm thinking, but France can't carry this team. They've got to have those other guys step up, because we also know carrying a team can sometimes cause injury with how hard you're having to step up in place of the other players.
Well, I'm going to tell you this, okay? My dad is a Padres fan, and he's told me, the Padres never wanted to get rid of Ty France, but they had no spot for him. Because you take a look at second base. Who do you have at second base with the Padres when Fernando Tatis comes back? You have Jake Cronenworth. Now, Jake Cronenworth, you could put him in the outfield, but he's not as good of a fielder out there. Who do you have at first base? You have Eric Hosmer. Who do you have at third? Manny Machado. You have Fernando Tatis at short. Where are you putting Ty France in that lineup? I mean, now you can put him at DH, but when they traded Ty France in 2020, they didn't know that the DH was going to become universal this soon.
And that's what the sports world is. Sometimes it's a game of chance. You see that with the draft lottery in sports, and it's a game of chance, and unpredictable things happen. And for the Padres, they just lost out on that, and it was Seattle's game. But you can't waste his career either. And Seattle's got to step up.
The biggest thing for Seattle and for Ty France is last year something unpredictable happened, and that's Evan White going down with an injury, pretty big injury too. And Ty France just filled that role so well. Hit 300, should have won American League Gold Glove as first baseman, just lost it. But, I mean, Perry Hill, I'm going to say this, Perry Hill's a genius when it comes to defense. And Perry Hill has helped so many players over the years with their defense on the infield. I mean, you look at Kyle Seager when he won the Gold Glove. Got to credit Perry Hill for that. Can't remember exactly if he was on a team back then or not. Actually, now that I think about it, I don't think that he was. But, I mean, you look at Ty France at first base. I mean, Ty, when he came over originally, he wasn't that great of a defender. But Perry Hill is a genius, and he helped him get better.
Yeah, it really is about that coaching staff at times. Coaching staffs are make or break. So are the training staffs and the trainers. I mean, the coaches, the coordinators. A team goes beyond what's seen on the court, on the ice, on the field. Mm-hmm. And for Seattle, it's paid off. They've had the right staff in place with the players. They've been able to gel right, obviously. And long term, if that continues, it should be really, really exciting on the corner of Edgar and Dave.
For sure. Well, let's talk about another former Mariners prospect here. Somebody who has been in the majors for 2 years now. He's been up and down, struggling this year early on. But that player is Cal Raleigh. I mean, Cal was really struggling early on, hitting under 100. At one point, it got to like a 0.5, 0.6 batting average, or 0.05, 0.06 batting average. But I'm looking at the stats here. Since being called up in May, he has a 167 batting average, or in May, he had a 167 batting average with a 217 on base percentage and a 0.5 slugging percentage, compared to in April, he had a 0.083 batting average with a 0.214 on base percentage and a 208 slugging percentage. Now, you look at the stats here. I mean, for a switch hitting catcher that, who's been struggling, that's still pretty decent. But the interesting thing to me is when Cal first came back up to the majors after his small stint with the AAA Tacoma, he at one point had, I think it was 3 of his 5 hits were home runs. You take a look at where he's at now. I'm talking today. After today's game, he has 12 hits, 5 home runs, 10 RBIs, 7 walks, 2 doubles. And he's looking good. He's looking refreshed at the plate. He's looking like he's comfortable. He's looking like he's starting to finally get the point of being in the movie. He's looking better. And you take a look at his. It's only been, I want to say, 3 days, but in the month of May or in the month of June, he's had 7 at bats and he's hitting 286. So he's 2 for 7 in the month of June so far. But in the last 7 days, he is hitting 267 with a 250 on base percentage and a 600 slugging percentage. In those 7 days, he has 4 hits and 15 at bats with 2 doubles and a home run, 4 RBI. Now, the thing about him is he's a very good defensive catcher as well. But he's just struggled at the plate. But recently, he's looking a lot better.
So do you think it's the coaching staff, or do you think he just sort of found himself again? Slump, maybe.
I think it was a slump. He was in a pretty big slump. All Mariner fans know this. He was in a pretty big slump before he went back down to AAA Tacoma and kind of gathered again. When he was in Tacoma.
Tacoma's a nice park, but it's one of the smallest in the AAA circuit. But they do groom their prospects well. They develop them well there. The fans love their team there. Well, I think it's part of the energy there too. That park and with the fans bringing and stuff. The players really, I think, feel it there.
So the Mariners sent him down for a week. He played 7 games, had 8 hits and 28 at bats, batting 286 with 2 doubles, a home run, 4 RBIs, had only 7 strikeouts and walked twice. But he had a 333 on base percentage and a 464 slugging percentage as well. So for him, it was just about getting that confidence again. The same thing that it is with Jared Kellnick right now. Jerry Dipoto said that he wants him to go have fun because Jared was really struggling. And, that's pretty much what Cal needed. He needed to go have some fun. He needed to go kind of get that refresher, just playing the game, not trying so hard. I think the fact that the Mariners won 90 games last year in a year that they weren't supposed to be close to contending, that was supposed to be this year. Last year was supposed to be part of the rebuild still, but they surprised a lot of people. And I think that's putting pressure on these young guys.
Well, sometimes those young guys need that pressure. I mean, it comes off a little, I don't want to say harsh, but it can, like we saw last season with Kellnick and them, especially when Mitchell go down and stuff and others. There's somebody else who got hurt. There's that pressure of we've got to really be gelling now. We've got to be getting this run going if we want to make the playoffs. And it energizes those guys and it gives them that pressure, gives them that boost, and they're able to just put magic out on that field.
Well, see, the nice thing, is you're right. Sometimes the pressure is good for the youngsters. I mean, you look at where Julio's at. I mean, he just won AL Rookie of the Month for the month of May. And, a year ago, you had a Julio on that squad. Oh, no doubt you're making the playoffs. I mean, you would have been a lot better in the month of May last year with Julio batting the way that he was this month of May. But the thing is I think with Mariners winning 90 games this year, it put extra pressure on guys like Jared Kellnick and Cal Raleigh, especially with Cal pretty much playing every day right now with Tom Murphy out. Playing the catcher position puts a lot more pressure on your body than any other position in baseball. Catcher and pitcher are the two that put the most pressure on your body. Because one, your arm isn't supposed to throw overhand. So a lot of pitchers who are throwing overhand, that's why they have to get Tommy John surgery so much, is because your arm is not supposed to move in this direction. That's why softball players throw underhand. But when you're catcher, you're always on your knees.
Exactly.
So that's why catchers don't last very long in major leagues. I mean, you look at Yadier Molina. He's I don't even I don't know. Huh?
He's like a anomaly.
Yeah, he's an anomaly. The dude's just been catching forever, it seems.
Yeah, this year is last season though, and he and Albert going out and both getting the chance to kind of talk about pitching and throwing stuff, and both getting the chance to pitch within a week or two.
And, yeah, those two going out together is just beautiful for the game of baseball. But I mean, back to the Mariners. Cal playing every day is especially before going back down to AAA. It was putting too much on him. And he was trying so hard to provide some offense for the Mariners. But he's now in the past 7 days, in the past 7 games, he's finally starting to provide that offense.
And all we can really do is hope that it continues and that those slumps don't come back and that players don't get hurt. I mean, we have to hope that Haniger comes back sooner rather than later. But
yeah, I know that Mitch Haniger and Tom Murphy are trying to come back soon, but I mean, it's just right now. My thing is where are you going to put Haniger? I mean, you have the DH spot, but you're talking. You have Julio in center. That's a lock. You have Winker in left. That's a lock. Right now, you have Taylor Trammell in right field, who's hitting well, and then you're pretty much using that DH spot to give guys a couple days off. But Julio or Eugenio Suarez the last 2 days has been doing well in that spot.
Exactly.
Way. I mean, it's just interesting to see, where this Mariners team is going. Hopefully the month of June and the month of July turns out to be a lot better. They start to pick up some wins here and there. Back-to-back series dubs, which is nice to see, especially ending the month of May on a series dub.
Yeah, and they really need to get more of those. If they can stack a few of those together, though, that's what starts a run. That's what starts one of those deep, possible postseason Hail Marys, those miracles we saw last season. Yeah, they didn't make it last season, but with the extended playoff now, and say what you want about that, maybe we need the extended spot this season. But come even next season, maybe they make what would have been last season's spot.
Even if it's just a wild card this year, that still gets the guys some playoff, and it's gonna provide that playoff experience for next year when you can go out and finally get that ace pitcher that you were wanting. I mean, you went out and got an ace pitcher this last year with
Robbie Ray.
Robbie Ray. Thank you. His name wouldn't come to my mind for a second there.
Yeah, he's kind of a hard one to remember, but he's good.
He's good, but he's been struggling as of late.
Yeah, he has. And the same thing can be said for players being energized and moved to a new city. Sometimes a new ballpark, the sea breeze. There's so many factors that come into play that players can struggle with a bit. But once they get going, then that's really the important part, and have to hope that the fire keeps on burning.
Well, yeah, and see, Robbie's been struggling, but you take a look at his stats, the advanced stats. They're pretty much the same as last year. There's some things that are pretty much the same as the Cy Young Award Robbie Ray in the advanced stats. They don't have those stats on me at the moment. But, Robbie is going to find himself again.
Yeah, and that's why I think this season, maybe they make a little bit of a run and they make the wild card, like you said, and that gives them that juice, that energizer for next season. But I think this is a critical time when they've got to figure out their pieces. They've got to put it together. And I think we will see some more moves by Jerry. And people might say they're small and tiny, but I think in baseball, that doesn't matter as much as other sports because players are able to come together. You're able to have those prospects come up and kind of shock people.
Well, and I'm going to say this, this was kind of an expected thing that was going to happen, but nobody really saw it. Every year, bullpens are key pieces to a team.
Exactly.
But the thing with a bullpen is 1 year they're really good.
1 year they stink it up.
And the next year they could be really bad.
But pitching's key.
This year is, I want to say, right in between, especially early on this year. They've just been right in between, not great, but not horrible. I think if the Mariners can get on a run, going to rely on that bullpen actually starting to really do well.
Exactly. That's what it's always been. People have always known, fans and team. Everybody's always known it's the pitching. It's that bullpen. You can have the key starters, but they can only go so long. We saw that with Paxton one time. They tried to get him to go the distance. I was there, and it was like the ninth inning, bam, big injury. So you've got to have those key rotational bullpen guys who are legit, who can throw heat and be those late inning stars.
Throwing heat. I like it. You know who's a free agent this year? Former Mariners closer, Edwin Diaz.
I mean, with the energy he gives the Mets, especially his entry song, that'd be pretty epic to bring him back for, say, a big run or something.
He would. And
I mean, I'm not saying it may not even be realistic or in the cards, but who knows?
it would definitely be deserving. So, Jerry, if you're watching, go get our boy Edwin Diaz. But anyways, that's going to do it for this week's episode. Thank you for watching. My name is Dacota Haynes. This is Derek Harper. It's been a fun episode of Mariners Chatter.